Stocks trade ranged as a marginally higher US CPI print muddles the interest rate trajectory. Auto and realty eke out gains while FMCG and utilities drag and the mid-caps outperform today.
Siemens pips expectations on profitability and order flow, while Torrent Power sees prospects improve across segments. Even NMDC and ONGC manage steady quarters.
Apollo Hospitals' profit dips, but the company says that Apollo Health Co. losses have been peaked. Biocon reports a loss on acquisition costs, but biosimilars see growth on the strong side, and PI Industries misses the sales estimates, but strong exports and margins cheer the street.
Air India inks agreements with Airbus and Boeing for 470 planes, 250 and 220 respectively. In the airline's first order for new aircraft since 2005, US President Biden and UK Prime Minister Sunak both lauded the deals.
Hello and welcome to Business Lunch. I'm Nisha Podar, and with me as always is my co-anchor Pavitra Parekh. So Pavitra, it's a day of probably yet another day of volatility because of the global cues really impacting our markets as well. And there's no getting away, it looks like, from the inflationary trends as well as the interest rate risks that the economy as well as the market and the businesses see. So at the moment, that's what has played out. But if you really look at the lunch, our markets are closer to the high point of the day, and it's almost 100 points recovery from the low point of the day for Nifty 50. So marginally in the green at the moment at 17,935 odd levels. When we talk about Bank Nifty, well, banks are underperforming the key indices and mildly in the red at the moment, and the mid caps are in line with the key indices and much more resilient than the blue chip stocks at the moment. Now, advanced decline ratio, that's in favor of the declines. But if you really look at some of the calls, some of the trades which are shining right now in terms of the stocks like Apollo Hospitals and Eicher Motors, they are doing extremely well. And Reliance Industries as a heavyweight is also adding a lot of momentum in terms of recovery of Nifty 50 today, Pavitra.
Well, absolutely. I mean, like you pointed out, it's been, first of all, a 100-point recovery from the bottom. So even though it looks pretty flat, there has been a good recovery come through. And I do want to point out that this is at a time when the rest of the Asian markets have seen no respite at all. So take a look at a Hang Seng market, a Taiwanese index, all of these down over, 1.5%. And this is the picture across the Asian markets. So in that context, what we've done is pretty all right. Some of the auto stocks holding up well today. Eicher, of course, on earnings, but you also have Maruti doing well, some from the metals pack doing well. And Reliance, like Nisha was pointing out, for the week it's up almost 4%. So do keep that in mind, because we did see some underperformance in the beginning of the year, but there seems to be a catch-up coming through now. On the downside, a lot of pharma names coming through. So in addition to some of the larger names, you take a look at some of the smaller ones as well. So something like a Glenmark, a Supriya Life Sciences, Shilpa Medicare, all of these seeing pretty steep cuts. So that is something that I would watch out for. But like we were pointing out, underneath this very flat surface, there's a lot going on in terms of earnings reaction. So we'll talk about that. And the first one is Apollo Hospitals. It is one of the top gainers on the Nifty today, despite posting a weak set of third quarter results. And that sharp move in the stock really came through after we spoke to the management. Margins and profit, although they've come in below estimates, the commentary from the management is what has taken the stock higher. Earlier today, we spoke to Sunita Reddy, who's managing director of Apollo Hospitals, and she says that they are not anticipating the losses to worsen for Apollo Health Co. She also lists out plans for the digital business. So listen in to the comments that really made the stock soar.
We've reached a phase of peak losses, and in the process, in the first 3 years of digital, it's very important that we get volumes, and critical volumes are very important to scale the business. We have currently 25 million users, and we're doing over 45,000 transactions on the online business. And I think all of this comes at a cost. There will be a requirement of 200 crores for the first half of next year. And this is something that the parent company can definitely fund. We do have for the long term, we are talking to investors. They are not strategic in nature, but investors who are there for the long term. And I think that all of us know that the environment at this time is not the appropriate environment for capital raise, but we are working on a capital raise.
All right, Apollo Hospitals working on a capital raise, and Street seems to like that particular announcement. On to the big news coming in from the aviation sector then, and Air India has created history by announcing 2 large aircraft deals of 470 aircraft. This is a large order, and this is the first new aircraft order for Air India in last 18 years. Remember, for the government, the turnaround of Air India was extremely critical, and then now it's showing results. Well, the airline has signed agreements with Airbus for 250 aircraft and Boeing for 220 aircraft, and the announcements were made last night by the Indian Prime Minister, French President, as well as the US President. Madiha Mujawar, our colleague, joins in to explain the significance of this transaction. Madiha, over to you.
Well, it is important to mention that these orders are the largest ever placed by any carrier in the world of commercial aviation, and it tells a lot about the strength, potential and opportunities in the Indian aviation space. So as part of the deal, Airbus will provide 40 wide-body planes A350 and 210 narrow-body planes A320 Neos. Likewise, Boeing will provide 190 narrow-body B737 MAX and 30 wide-body, including 20 787s and 10 777-9s. Air India will use the wide-body planes to strengthen its long and ultra-long distance routes like the US and European destinations, and will deploy narrow-body aircraft to bolster the domestic operations like within India, Middle East, South Asia, Southeast Asian and South African countries. To give our viewers some perspective here, Air India along with Air Asia India, Air India Express and Vistara has about 220 aircraft compared to over 300 aircraft of Indigo alone. Of the 220 planes, 48 are wide-body and the rest are narrow-body planes. Air India's consolidated share in the domestic air traffic is 26%, whereas Indigo controls a 54.9% share. So a big opportunity there for Air India to increase its domestic business. Air India and Vistara do have a monopoly among Indian carriers on long distance routes, but there are also many destinations that are controlled by Gulf carriers like Emirates, Etihad and Qatar Airways, also Turkish Airlines and Singapore Airlines. So there is a huge opportunity for Air India there as well to attract that international traffic. Let me also add that this order by Air India is kind of re-infusing faith in the Indian aviation sector that is otherwise mostly grappling with cash-strapped airlines.
मैं एयर इंडिया और एयरबस को इस लैंडमार्क एग्रीमेंट के लिए बहुत-बहुत बधाई और शुभकामनाएं देता हूं। कई आकलनों के अनुसार भारत को अगले 15 वर्षों में 2000 से अधिक विमानों की आवश्यकता होगी। आज की ऐतिहासिक घोषणा इस बढ़ती मांग को पूरा करने में सहायक होगी।
Airbus is contributing to the outstanding development of India, and the new 250 aircrafts which will be delivered to Air India will be one more step in this direction. There is a deep commitment in France to provide the state-of-the-art, the most efficient technologies available to India, and to be part of your Made in India strategy.
We also have significant options to increase the fleet order once we grow. We see this moment as a most significant moment for the Tata Group's Air India, Indian aviation, and for manufacturing sector in India.
All right, that is the latest on that mega Air India deal to acquire 470 aircraft, the biggest deal since 2005. But with that, let's also move on and bring you another update on the Shrey Group resolution process. CNBC-TV18 has learned that most of the group's lenders favor the NARCL's resolution plan. So Ritu Singh joins us with all of the details. Ritu, what are you picking up here?
That's right, we've been given to understand that the voting on the 3 resolution plans for the Shrey twins under IBC ended very late last night, and while the final tally is still awaited, multiple sources have indicated to us that NARCL, or the National Asset Reconstruction Company, is set to be declared the winning bidder, with a majority of the lenders favoring the bid put in by NARCL. Remember, we had reported earlier that NARCL's offer stands at 5,555 crores in net present value terms. The second highest offer had come in from Autumn Investments, which had made a total offer of 5,526 crores, again in NPV terms, and is likely to have secured the second highest vote from the lenders, very close to the number of votes that were secured for NARCL. And the least votes, we understand, have been given to the Vardhe Arena offer, which stood at 4,682 crore rupees. However, while this is ongoing and the Committee of Creditors will meet today to take on board the voting results and submit the final plan to the RBI for its approval before it is sent to the NCLT, the promoters of the company, which is the Canorias, have moved the NCLT against the lenders' move to not consider their offer. Remember, we reported that the Canorias had offered to fully repay the lenders by submitting a settlement plan which included monetization of assets, infusion of capital by an investor, and so on and so forth. However, given that they're unlikely to be considered under Section 29A, their offer has not been considered by the lenders so far. So that caveat aside, if there are no further legal hurdles, the lenders are hopeful that within the deadline of February 18th, under the IBC, they will be able to submit this plan to the NCLT.
All right, Ritu, thanks so much for getting us all those important details. On that note, we'll slip into a short breather on Business Lunch, but stay tuned as we get you more on India's grain output as the Agricultural Ministry projects record high wheat as well as rice harvest for this crop year. Stay tuned for all the details.
Hey guys, welcome back. You're still tuned into Business Lunch on CNBC-TV18. Now, an important news, the Agricultural Ministry in its second advance estimate has projected record high wheat and rice harvest. This is for the current crop year. Wheat production is estimated at 112.18 million tons, which is pretty much at the target of 112 million tons for the current agricultural year, while the total rice production is estimated at 130.8 million tons, which is actually 1% higher on a year-over-year basis. Again, this is pretty much at the year's full year's target of 130 million tons. The total food production, however, is being estimated at 323.5 million tons, but is lower against the target of 328 million tons for the current year. So our colleague Abhimanyu spoke to the Food Secretary on all of these. Let's listen into that.
The procurements would happen start from the 1st of April. So as of now, you must have seen the second advance estimates which have come from the Agriculture Ministry. The production is expected to be quite good, and we are expecting more than about 112 to 113 million tons of production. So that gives us a lot of cause for cheer that production is going to be good. With regard to procurement, that starts on the 1st of April. And the wheat prices have come down. You are aware of the decision of the central government of selling about 30 lakh tons in the open market. This was done on 25th of January. Since then, prices have come down and they are ruling now less than 2,500 rupees. And we are hopeful that with the policy decision that the government will take and is taking, the prices will come down further in the coming few days.
India is looked at in a positive light internationally as far as rice exports are concerned. What's the current situation on rice? And also, is there a possibility in near future of the export limit being increased for sugar as well as rice?
Rice exports, the basmati rice exports, of course, there is no issue. With regard to the non-basmati, there was restriction imposed last year. So government will review the situation as and when we are finding that the production figures and the procurement figures are in line with any kind of a review of the decision, which we would take in due course. With regard to sugar production, we are getting figures that it will be slightly less than what we had last year. And besides the 60 lakh tons of exports that were allowed in November last year, we would take a call on whether any further exports would be allowed or not once we have a very firm indication of the production figures.
All right, so that was the news from the agricultural side. Well, shifting focus then to another important news development of the day, and the income tax officials continue search operations at the offices of BBC in New Delhi as well as Mumbai. Now, sources suggest that the taxman has alleged that the British broadcaster had not complied with the transfer pricing rules, and they have also levelled allegations of profit diversion. Now, the BBC, in a statement yesterday, said that they were fully cooperating with the authorities, and they said that they hope to have the situation resolved as soon as possible.
All right, so that is what we're tracking on the BBC, but we are going to keep bringing you updates on that front as well. For now, it's time for another short break on the show, but you stay tuned because on the other side, we're going to bring you all of the updates on the earthquake that rocked Turkey and Syria, so stay tuned for that.